Mel Gibson exposed Hollywood's secrets and paid the price. The dark truth. Mel Gibson is a name that resonates deeply within Hollywood, not only because of his immense talent, but also due to the shocking and controversial personal and professional battles that have unfolded throughout his career. Known for his leading roles in Lethal Weapon, Braveheart, and The Passion of the Christ, Gibson's rise to fame in the 1980s and 1990s cemented his place as one of the most respected actors and directors of his generation. However, behind the scenes, Gibson was exposed to a darker side of Hollywood, a world filled with scandal, corruption, and a hidden web of secrets that he would eventually begin to uncover. Unfortunately, as often happens in the entertainment industry, those who dare to speak out and expose these secrets often find themselves paying a heavy price. The rise of Mel Gibson, a star in the making. Mel Gibson's journey to stardom was nothing short of meteoric. He was a rising star in Hollywood during the 1980s, with his breakthrough role in Mad Max leading to further success with films like Lethal Weapon and Signs. Gibson's reputation as an action hero and charismatic leading man was solidified by his performances, and he became one of the highest-paid actors in the industry. In the 1990s, he took on the role of director, with Braveheart earning him worldwide acclaim. The film not only won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, but it also showcased his immense talent behind the camera, adding another layer to his legacy. However, as Gibson's star continued to rise, it became apparent that he wasn't willing to adhere to the typical Hollywood mold. His outspokenness on political and cultural issues, combined with a strong personal ideology, often placed him at odds with the industry's elite. Unlike many of his contemporaries who sought to keep their personal lives private, Gibson didn't shy away from expressing his beliefs or making bold, controversial statements. The beginning of the fall. Public controversies. Mel Gibson's fall from grace began with a series of personal scandals that would forever alter his once glittering public persona. In 2006, Gibson was arrested for driving under the influence (DUI), but it was his subsequent anti-Semitic tirade directed at the arresting officer that made headlines around the world. In a shocking outburst, Gibson spewed vile comments that included blaming Jews for all the wars in the world, a statement that was immediately condemned across the globe. This incident not only rattled Hollywood but also shattered his carefully crafted image as a charming, all-American leading man. The fallout from the DUI arrest and his inflammatory remarks was swift and severe. Calls for boycotts of his films flooded in from various media outlets, Jewish organizations, and influential Hollywood figures. The very industry that had once welcomed him with open arms now turned its back on the star. Hollywood has long prided itself on its commitment to diversity, inclusion, and progressive values, and Gibson's actions were seen as a direct contradiction to these principles. His public apology seemed insufficient for many, and some doubted his sincerity in attempting to make amends for his offensive behavior. However, even more damaging than the DUI incident itself was the unraveling of Gibson's career in its wake. Once one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, his reputation crumbled almost overnight. Major studios hesitated to work with him, fearing backlash and financial repercussions from his tarnished image. The same audience that had once adored him now saw him as a pariah, and his once untouchable status was in jeopardy. Gibson's fall from grace served as a cautionary tale for other stars about how quickly a career can collapse when personal scandals spill into the public domain. His reputation, built over decades of successful films and iconic roles, seemed irreparably damaged, and Hollywood's elite distanced themselves from the once beloved actor. The Passion of the Christ, exposing Hollywood's hidden agenda? While his personal life was in turmoil, another monumental event in Gibson's career would further stoke the flames of controversy and deepen the divide between him and Hollywood's power players. In 2004, Gibson released The Passion of the Christ, a film that he directed, produced, and financed himself. The movie, which depicted the last 12 hours of Jesus Christ's life, became a global sensation, grossing over $600 million worldwide. However, despite its enormous commercial success, the film was met with fierce backlash from critics and members of Hollywood's liberal elite. The controversy surrounding The Passion of the Christ was rooted in its brutal, graphic portrayal of the crucifixion and its religious themes. Many in the Jewish community accused the film of anti-Semitism, particularly because of the way it depicted the Jewish authorities as responsible for Jesus' death. The debate was heated, with some claiming that the film was a veiled attack on Jews, while others argued that Gibson was simply staying true to the Bible's narrative. Gibson, however, vehemently denied these accusations and maintained that The Passion was a faithful retelling of the gospel story. In interviews, he insisted that he intended to create a powerful spiritual experience, not to perpetuate hate. However, his insistence on defending the film only seemed to deepen the divide between him and Hollywood's more progressive factions. The film's success was also viewed by some as an anomaly in Hollywood, which had largely embraced secularism and increasingly favored political correctness. Gibson's staunch Catholicism and conservative values put him at odds with the more liberal elements of the entertainment industry, and whispers began to circulate that his outspokenness on religious and political issues had made him a target. There were growing concerns that Gibson's outspoken conservatism and willingness to push against the grain of Hollywood's increasingly liberal narrative were causing friction with the powers that be. The success of The Passion, a film that challenged Hollywood norms, further cemented Gibson's reputation as an outsider, with some viewing him as a threat to the dominant, politically correct agenda in the industry. Behind the scenes, many within Hollywood began to question Gibson's motivations. While some admired his passion and independent spirit, others saw him as a divisive figure. His continued criticisms of Hollywood, combined with his outspoken support for conservative causes, left many in the industry wary of associating with him. At the same time, the massive success of The Passion of the Christ left some Hollywood elites questioning why the film had performed so well, particularly since it didn't conform to the typical Hollywood formula. For many, Gibson had exposed a fundamental rift within the entertainment industry. The clash between artistic freedom and the liberal values that dominate Hollywood's power structures. In hindsight, The Passion can be seen as a double-edged sword for Gibson. While it showcased his skill as a director and solidified his place in Hollywood history, it also cemented his status as a figure at odds with the very industry that had helped propel him to fame. The film's success would not be enough to shield him from the growing backlash, and it would mark the beginning of an era where Gibson would find himself increasingly isolated from Hollywood's inner circle. The dark truth, Gibson's accusations, and Hollywood's backlash. Despite the financial success of The Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson's controversies refused to fade into the background. They only intensified, culminating in one of the most damaging scandals of his career. In 2010, tapes were leaked in which Gibson was heard making a series of racist, misogynistic, and violently threatening remarks towards his then-girlfriend, Oksana Grigorieva. The tapes exposed a side of Gibson that the public had never seen before, one filled with venomous hatred and deeply disturbing prejudices. Gibson's rants were filled with derogatory language aimed at African Americans, Jews, and women. In one infamous exchange, he made racist comments about African Americans, implying that they were responsible for the societal issues he blamed them for. In another instance, he made misogynistic remarks, speaking cruelly to Grigorieva in a way that painted a disturbing picture of his private life. These recordings confirmed many of the suspicions that had been swirling around Gibson for years, that behind his public persona was a man harboring deeply troubling views. The release of these tapes was catastrophic for Gibson, both personally and professionally. Hollywood, which had once revered him, now seemed to view him as toxic. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Major studios were quick to sever ties with Gibson, and he was effectively blacklisted from major film projects. Directors who had once worked with him or praised his craft now publicly distanced themselves from the actor-turned-director, refusing to be associated with him in any capacity. The backlash was swift and relentless, with the media and the public showing little mercy. But the controversy surrounding Gibson's downfall wasn't just about his behavior. Many in Hollywood had been uncomfortable with his conservative views and outspoken criticisms of the industry's more liberal leanings. The tapes, combined with his previous controversies, seemed to confirm suspicions that Gibson had become an enemy of the very Hollywood establishment that had helped elevate him to stardom. This was more than a personal scandal. It was a direct challenge to the industry's political correctness and its increasing alignment with progressive ideals. For some of Gibson's supporters, the tapes and the subsequent backlash were not just a reflection of his failings, but part of a larger orchestrated effort to silence him. Many believed that Hollywood had always been uncomfortable with Gibson's unapologetically conservative views, especially his outspoken criticisms of the industry's left-wing dominance. Gibson's public disdain for political correctness, his vocal support for conservative causes, and his willingness to challenge Hollywood's ideological narratives made him a target. Some speculated that Hollywood's elite, in their quest to protect their progressive agenda, sought to punish Gibson for refusing to conform. This theory gained traction among certain segments of the public who saw Gibson's downfall as more than just a personal collapse. It was, in their eyes, a calculated effort by Hollywood to rid itself of an inconvenient figure who dared to speak out against the status quo. These supporters argued that while Gibson's behavior was undeniably problematic, it wasn't the sole reason for his professional exile. Instead, it was his refusal to apologize for his beliefs and his willingness to challenge Hollywood's cultural norms that had sealed his fate. As Gibson's career came to a halt, the accusations against him seemed to overshadow his past achievements. The actor, who had once been celebrated as a box office king and critically acclaimed director, now found himself marginalized, struggling to regain his footing in the industry that had once adored him. The damage was done. Gibson's ability to reclaim his place in Hollywood seemed nearly impossible, and the public's perception of him had been irrevocably altered. What had started as a series of personal mistakes snowballed into a larger cultural divide, and Gibson's story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of speaking out against the prevailing norms in Hollywood. While some of his supporters continue to stand by him, the reality is that the damage to his career and his reputation may never fully heal. In the end, Mel Gibson's downfall was about much more than personal failings. It was about Hollywood's reckoning with its ideals, and how the industry's rejection of Gibson was as much about politics as it was about his transgressions. The price of exposure, Gibson's redemption arc. Despite the backlash, Mel Gibson's career is far from over. In recent years, he has made attempts to rebuild his reputation, focusing on independent projects and small roles in films. In 2016, Gibson directed Hacksaw Ridge, a war drama that garnered critical acclaim and even earned him a nomination for Best Director at the Academy Awards. The film's success marked a turning point in Gibson's career, showing that Hollywood was willing to give him another chance, albeit on a smaller scale. Mel Gibson's relationship with Hollywood evolved dramatically over the years, starting with his meteoric rise as a beloved actor and director, only to face a dramatic fall fueled by personal scandals and ideological clashes. Initially, Gibson was celebrated for his talent and charisma, starring in blockbuster hits like Lethal Weapon and Braveheart. His transition to directing brought even greater acclaim, with Braveheart earning multiple Academy Awards, solidifying his status as one of the most respected figures in the industry. However, his outspoken nature and unwillingness to conform to Hollywood's cultural and political norms set him apart in ways that would later cost him dearly. Gibson's decision to finance and release The Passion of the Christ without Hollywood backing was a pivotal moment that highlighted his strained relationship with the industry. While the film was a commercial success, grossing over $600 million, its overtly religious themes and graphic depiction of the crucifixion drew sharp criticism from Hollywood elites and accusations of anti-Semitism. As Gibson became more outspoken, his ideological clashes with Hollywood's liberal power structures deepened. His conservative views and willingness to critique the industry's inner workings made him a polarizing figure. For some, he exposed uncomfortable truths about the entertainment world, including allegations of corruption and a hidden web of influence. However, this outspokenness also made him a target, with critics arguing that his controversial stances and statements were incompatible with the inclusive values Hollywood claimed to champion. The narrative surrounding Gibson's fall became emblematic of broader tensions within Hollywood. Critics accused the industry of using his personal failings as an opportunity to silence a dissenting voice, suggesting that his outspoken conservatism and refusal to conform made him an easy scapegoat. Supporters saw his exile as a cautionary tale of what happens to those who challenge Hollywood's power dynamics and ideological orthodoxy. For many, Mel Gibson's story is a complex and polarizing example of how the intersection of talent, controversy, and ideology can define one's fate in the entertainment world. Mel Gibson's story is one of remarkable talent, controversial behavior, and a tragic fall from grace. His story serves as a stark reminder of the price that many are forced to pay when they challenge the powers that be and expose the secrets hidden behind the glitz and glamour of the entertainment industry. Enjoyed the content? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Your support keeps us going.